Hello everybody, welcome back to Mr. Davis Reads, carrying on with A Boy Called Christmas. If you remember yesterday, Nicholas is locked in the tower, or in the prison, with Sebastian the Troll and the Truth Pixie, and he's trying to find a way out. So if you're sitting comfortably, I'll begin day 9. Chapter 18, The Art of Climbing Through Chimneys. Sebastian fell back to his snoring. The sound was like a motorbike, but motorbikes hadn't been invented yet, so Nicholas couldn't compare it to that. Then soon after, the Truth Pixie fell asleep too. The troll was still hogging the bed, so the Truth Pixie had curled up on the floor, holding on to her tulip leaf. Nicholas was extremely tired. He'd never felt so tired before. Not even before Christmas, when he was never able to sleep because he was so excited. He knew he needed to sleep, but he didn't trust the Truth Pixie. He sat with his back against the cold, hard wall, staring up at the chimney. Outside, beyond the thick wooden door, in between Sebastian's snores, he could just about hear the mumbled voices of the elf guards. He had to get out of here. Not simply because he was with two creatures who, each for different reasons, wanted to kill him. No, he had to escape to find his father. He had a hunch that he was still alive, and he also knew that he was probably with the men who were supposed to have taken little Kip. There must be some confusion. His father was a good man. He had to find him. He had to bring back little Kip. He had to make everything all right. But how? He remembered the day his mother died, hiding from the brown bear in the well, holding onto the chain, holding the bucket, then losing her grip. The wail as she fell while Nicholas watched in horror from the cottage. On that day, and for a lot of days afterwards, he had believed that things could only get worse, and that he would wake up in tears for the rest of his life, feeling guilty that he hadn't stayed with her, even though he thought she was running too. He prayed somehow for her to come back. Joel kept on telling him he looked like his mother, but his cheeks weren't as red as, so sometimes Nicholas used to grab some berries and crush them on his cheeks and look at his reflection in the lake. And in the blurry water, he could almost imagine it was her, looking back from a dream. "It's funny, Papa," he once said as his father chopped a tree, "but I could probably have filled that well with the tears, the amount I have cried." "She wouldn't want you to cry. She'd want you to be happy, jolly. She was the happiest person I ever met." And so the next morning Nicholas woke up and didn't cry. He was determined not to. And nor had he had his usual nightmare about his mother falling down that well. So he knew that terrible things, even the most terrible things, couldn't stop the world from turning. Life went on, and he made a promise to himself that when he grew older, he'd try and be like his mother, colourful and happy and kind and full of joy. That was how he was going to keep her alive. There were no windows in the tower. The door was thick wood and solid metal, and besides there were guards. He was there, in this damp stone circular room, as stuck as an axle in a wheel. There was a world out there, a world of forests and lakes and mountains and hope, but that world belonged to other people now, not him. There simply was no way out, and yet strangely he wasn't unhappy. Scared, yes, maybe a little, but also deep down hopeful. He began to chuckle to himself. Impossible. That was what Father Topo had meant, he realised. That was the point of magic, wasn't it? To do the impossible. Could he, Nicholas, really do magic? He stared at the chimney, at the small circle of darkness, and he tried to concentrate hard on that chimney, that dark tunnel, and how to get through it. It was an intense darkness, like the darkness of the well. He thought of his mum falling, and all those times he had imagined it the other way, of her rising back into life. He thought of staring at the brown bear in the forest that last time, not really that scared, and then the bear going away. His head kept on saying it was impossible, but he stared, and slowly he started to hope, to wish. He thought of all those unhappy elves in the hall. He thought of his father's sad face the day he had left the cottage to travel north. He thought of Aunt Carlotta making him sleep outside in the cold. He thought of human unhappiness, but he also thought of how it didn't need to be like that. He thought that really humans and probably even elves were good inside, but had lost their way a bit. Most of all, he thought of how he could escape the tower. And then he thought of his mother, smiling and laughing and being happy no matter what. And he began to feel the same peculiar feeling, as if a warm syrup was pouring inside of him, just as he had when he first met Father Topo and little Noosh. It was a feeling of unbreakable joy. Hope where no hope could exist. And then, before he knew it, he was rising. He was floating off the ground, and very slowly and surely he was climbing through the air above the Truth Pixie and Sebastian. He felt as light as a feather until he hit his head against the ceiling right next to the too small chimney and fell back towards the ground, but landed on top of Sebastian. "It not be Christmas Day now, it be after Christmas Day," said Sebastian as he woke up, "so I be killing you." Amid the commotion, the Truth Pixie had woken up. "Yay!" squealed the Truth Pixie. "I mean, it's technically Christmas Eve, but otherwise, yay!" Nicholas moved fast and grabbed the yellow tulip leaf from the Truth Pixie's hand. He thrust the leaf towards Sebastian, but it wasn't the leaf that caused the one-toothed troll to step backwards. It was the fact that Nicholas was suspended in the air again. "You be magic. Why you be staying here if you be magic?" "I'm beginning to ask myself the same thing," said Nicholas. "Hey," said the Truth Pixie, "get down now and give me my leaf back." "Get away from me," said Nicholas, trying to sound as fearsome as he could. "That's tricky, actually, as we are trapped in a prison cell," said the Truth Pixie. Sebastian grabbed Nicholas's leg and tried to pull him back down to the ground. "This is so exciting," said the Truth Pixie, smiling broadly and clapping her hands. "I love a drama." Sebastian's grip tightened, his rough hands as strong as stone. "Get off," said Nicholas, but it was no use. He thought of his mother falling, not rising, and that, combined with the strength of the troll, was interfere with the magic. Then something rough was around Nicholas's neck, squeezing hard. Sebastian's free hand. Nicholas gasped. "I can't breathe." Then the hand released. "I be thinking," said Sebastian matter-of-factly, "I might be eating you instead of strangling. I be only have one tooth, but it be doing the job." And he opened his mouth and was about to bite when Nicholas shoved the tulip leaf in his mouth. The Truth Pixie clapped her hands in excitement. "Oi!" came a deep elf voice from outside the door. "What's going on in there?" "Nothing," said Nicholas. "Nothing," said Sebastian. The Truth Pixie covered her mouth but still couldn't help herself. "The human boy is floating in the air while Sebastian is trying to eat him, but now the human boy has shoved the tulip leaf into his mouth, so I am anxiously awaiting the explosion of Sebastian's head," she blurted out. "Emergency!" shouted the elf guard behind the door. "There's a crisis in the furnace room." Sebastian stumbled backwards as the clop of elf footsteps could be heard echoing up to the tower's spiral staircase. Then the troll's face began to tremble. Sebastian looked worried. "What be happening?" Nicholas heard the troll's stomach rumble. It was more than a rumble. It was more even than a grumble. It sounded like thunder. Nicholas was now back on the floor. "I'm sorry," said Nicholas. "He's gonna blow!" squealed the Truth Pixie. "A Christmas Eve spectacular!" The more than grumbling noise rose higher inside the troll, and now the noise was coming from his head. His cheeks wobbled. His forehead started to throb. His lips started to swell. His ears bulged. His head had already been big, but it was getting bigger and bigger. It was now wider than his shoulders, and he was struggling to hold it up. And all the time, the Truth Pixie was clapping her hands in excitement. "Oh, this is going to be a good one. I can feel it." The guards were at the door trying to find the right key. Sebastian tried to speak, but he couldn't because his tongue was now the size of a slipper. He said as he clutched his head. His eyes were now so large that they nearly popped out of his head. Well, one did pop out, and it rolled along the floor towards Nicholas. It lay there looking up at Nicholas and was pretty disgusting. The Truth Pixie burst into hysterics looking at the eye. "Oh, this is so good. I shouldn't laugh. Bad, Pixie, bad. But it's just so..." Nicholas saw the Truth Pixie's face go still. "What's up?" he asked. I just wet myself," she said, and then she started giggling again. "What's happening in here?" shouted the guards. "I wouldn't open the door just yet," said the Truth Pixie. "There's going to be an explosion." And at that was the moment Sebastian's head got so big it exploded with a loud, wet thud. Purple troll blood and grey troll brains splattered everywhere, over the walls, over the Truth Pixie, and over Nicholas. "Amazing!" said the Truth Pixie as she applauded. "Bravo, Sebastian!" Sebastian didn't respond to the truth pixie. Not out of rudeness, but out of not having a head. He was just a big troll body with no head. And the body was now falling forwards toward the truth pixie, who was still laughing so hard she couldn't see. So Nicholas quickly dived towards the pixie, hurling her aside as Sebastian crashed onto the floor, squashing his loose eyeball. "You saved my life," said the truth pixie, now a little bit in love. "Oh, it was nothing," said Nicholas. Then the sound of keys in the door. Nicholas closed his eyes and fought his panic. He was determined now. "You can do it," said the truth pixie. "Can I?" "Yeah, of course you can." As the door opened, Nicholas was back, floating up to the air. "Oi!" shouted an elf guard. Father Topu's words came back to Nicholas. "You just close your eyes and wish for something to happen." Perhaps a wish was just a hope with a better aim. If you wished hard enough, maybe all kinds of things could happen. He thought about how Father Vodal had made furniture move. Maybe, with enough determination, a chimney could move too. "I can do it," Nicholas said. "Yes, you can," agreed the pixie. He closed his eyes and wished that he could. Nothing. Stillness. Then warmth. As the wish filled his whole body, he felt a sudden dip in his stomach like he was falling, or rising. Then his heart began to race. When he finally opened his eyes, he saw blackness. He was inside the chimney. He could hear his mother's voice. "My boy, my sweet Christmas boy. I'm going to be like you, Mum. I'm going to make people happy." The chimney bent, twisted and expanded to fit him perfectly as he travelled with considerable speed upwards. He could hear the voice of the truth pixie somewhere below him saying, "Told you!" And in no time at all, Nicholas shot out of the chimney, felt the rush of cool air before he landed hard but painlessly on the steep tower roof. We're going to stop there for today. Hope to see you tomorrow. Bye all.